now recording. Just a little bit of Zoom etiquette for any of you who haven't been on these type of calls before. If we have our mics on, we get a lot of feedback going on, so you can, maybe hear feedback from other people, the phones ring, all sorts of things. So if you've already done so, if you just mute yourself, and then we don't get any feedback going on. And I can always unmute you when it comes to asking questions, etc. So now a couple of people have done that. As you can probably hear, the sound is a lot better. You don't get that interference going on. And because there's so many people on this call, it's never great if you're giving a presentation if people chip in partway through with a question, because you lose your thread of what you were talking about. They immediately cause amnesia, don't they, to what you were talking about. So at the end of each section, I will open it up for questions and answers. So I am here tonight to help you get the best results you can, and so I will answer any questions that you have at all, and I'll just unmute you at the appropriate time to ask those questions. And but the great thing about doing things on Zoom is, although we see everybody in a little tile on the screen, what we can do, we can still do virtual hugs. So like we could all do this and give each other a community hypnosis hug. That's it, we can all do that, can't we? And there's other things that we can do on our little tiles as well that we've got. It's like on my tiles, I can see next to me, I can see a lady called Bev, and I can see a lady called Amanda Murray. And, I can just give people a kiss on either side of my tiles as well. So, and so there's a few little good hand signals that are good to use on Zoom. So if you think that the content that is being shared is good, and I'm hoping that you do, if you think the content that is good, that is it can be shared, you can just give a bit of a thumbs up. So can we all practice I can give you a thumbs up for that? Yes. And if you think it's really good, you can go like that, oh, this is really good, so I do a thumbs up on that. And if you ever want to give me a round of applause, or anybody else at all, we can just wave your hands, can be rounds of applause. We can do this instead. So, so there are lots of things we can play around with Zoom and make it a little bit more fun as well. But I'm really delighted that you've chosen to spend your time with me today. And, we're going to be, it's difficult to say a time. I suspect we're going to be maybe about 90 minutes. I'll probably be up until, certainly up until the clapping break, giving you some content, but also there's probably going to be quite a lot of questions, and some people have already, ahead of this webinar, put some questions through to me, which I will cover off as well. Now, on the call tonight, I know there are some of you who are already trained virtual gastric band practitioners, are already using that system, and so there will be some good information for you as well on the call. And there will also be people who have never heard of that, or might be using their own weight loss protocol. We've got a variety of people, I know from the names that are registered, that everybody's at a different point. So, I'm not actually going to be talking in detail about virtual gastric band tonight. I'm going to be talking about it from a different angle on weight loss. But I'll cover a little bit of that for those of you who don't know much about that system. So I'm hoping that you all get, sort of maximum benefits from coming on this call tonight. Now, hopefully, if I press share screen, I am going to be able to show you PowerPoint. Aha, so hopefully you should all have that on your screen now. So I'm going to do a little bit mix of both. I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint as well, because more than anything, what this PowerPoint does is it keeps me on track. So I don't wander off whilst talking about something different, and that I make sure I get all the correct information over to you. I'm going to get straight into the content, because otherwise we could lose an hour just talking to each other and where we're from and where our businesses are. But those of you who don't know me, I think probably a lot of you on the call do, but there's some names that I didn't recognise on the list. So those of you who don't know me, you can probably tell from the accent that I am from the UK. And I'm from a place called Hull. But in Hull, we all call it Hull, Hull, because that's what our accent dictates that we do. And I've been a hypnotherapist for 11 years now in full-time practice. I'm known probably most for the virtual gastric band therapy. I've got 2 books out there. I've got No More Diets, and I've got How to Build a Hypnotherapy Business. And I spend a lot of time training other therapists, but I still believe in working my tools. So I still see clients. I built a private practice in a doctor's office initially, and I built that to seeing a madness number of clients. So I was working with 35 to 50 clients per week, week in, week out. It was exhausting. I wouldn't recommend it as a business model, but what it did do was gave me a huge amount of client experience. And, you know, I do a lot of press and publicity, putting hypnosis in the news all the time, because the more I do that, the more the awareness grows, the more that we all benefit from that as a profession. So, you know, tonight's about us kicking back a bit, really, and, you know, doing a bit of, hopefully I can give you some tips, some little bit of education to how you might get, you know, good results with your clients, you know, going forward. So things I'm going to talk about tonight, is, you know, how do we break through with somebody, their eating habits and behaviours? What can be a simple way to do that? You know, and that we might look at something called identifying what our client's eating type is. Now, I'm not talking about putting a label on somebody here, although you know, but if we assess what type of eater they are, then we can go to the crux of the issue very quickly, and also bring about a fast result for somebody. Because when somebody goes to see a hypnotist, they want an instant result, don't they? We all want instant results. You know, I want to wake up thin tomorrow, if that's possible. Now, although we can't actually make somebody thin tomorrow, if we can get them to instantly start losing weight in the first week, their belief system kicks in that, hang on, this is something that can help me. Maybe this is something that's going to work. Then we can do some of the deeper level work if we need to. So this is a system that I've put together for identifying a client's eating type. I'm going to share some top tips for working with weight loss clients. And I'm also going to share, you know, how can we work with clients online and in groups as well. So this isn't a particularly good picture that I found here. I'm trying to find a better one. But, you know, how do we look to help our clients with weight loss and also with drinking? Because I want to, you know, there's the alcohol side of things at the moment. When their associations look like this. And I really wanted a picture almost of a bramble bush, because, you know, we've had suggestions made from a young age, you know, eat it all up, you'll be a big boy. So there's associations there. We've had associations with food as we've been growing up, and we might have linked it to emotions, to reward, to good times. You know, I mean, who isn't? You know, I can't wait to have my family round to my house again, and, you know, I can guarantee that I'll be cooking like a huge meal for them all, because, you know, it's how we share our love, isn't it? It's what we do. So, but of course that forms, you know, more associations. So how do we even know where to start cutting away at this bramble bush. Because, you know, if we try and dig it all out in one go, then that's probably not going to work, because that will be probably, you know, too much. And then what is this person's identity? If we just clear it all out, then, you know, where is the person's identity with that? And, you know, if we just try trimming it at the sides a little bit, how fast is it all going to grow back? So, you know, I've sort of likened people's eating habits to, you know, a bramble bush. You know, where do we even start? And, you know, if when the client comes to see us, you know, because we know that diets don't work, we know that. And the client who comes to see you for weight loss is a specialist. They are more of a specialist in weight loss than you are, without doubt, because they've done them all. You know, they can tell you the ins and outs of every single diet going. You know, how many calories there are in things. They're far more of an expert on this subject than you will ever be. And their belief system is probably for failure, or that this is going to be really hard. Because, you know, and I say we've had all those suggestions from a young age, and in lockdown we've been treating ourselves, haven't we? You know, because, you know, there isn't, you know, well, I mean, at the moment, if I'm honest, you know, the dairy milk factory has got me hooked in. You know, if I sit down on it and, oh, dairy milk. I do have a highly addictive personality, so I go through phases to what that thing is. You know, so those people who know me well, you know, I had one phase where it was jellies, you know, like midget gems and jelly babies and all things gelatin. And then, you know, it's that all went, and then at the moment in lockdown, it seems to be dairy milk seems to be the thing. So, and when we see a client for weight loss as well, you know, their motivation to change might actually be fairly low, and I'll go into why that is. Because, you know, although they're in front of you because they want to lose weight, their motivation to do something different or to change anything is typically fairly low. The client has expectations, you know, they want to wake up thin tomorrow. You know, Amazon have done us no favours at all. You know, they've made us even more of a instantly driven society. You know, we want it now. And, you know, Amazon have become very disappointing, haven't they? Because if I go to order something from Amazon now, you know, because they're being inundated and we all have to order stuff in now, you know, when it tells me it's not going to come for 2 days, I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to come for 2 days? I'm used to things coming the next day. How disappointing is this? So we have this set of expectations, don't we? And then there's all the emotional associations with food, you know, where in some way it's probably soothed our soul. Weight loss clients may have an aspect of depression as well, and the weight may be layers of protection for somebody. And, you know, somebody who's been big for a long period of time, you know, it's probably even become their identity. So we might even have to look at identity issues. There was a lady that I worked with very early on, a lady called Sonia, and Sonia lost 10.5 stone. Now in the UK, we work in pounds and stones. There's 14 pounds in a stone. And she lost 140 pounds. But I remember having a conversation with her and asking her, if you were honest, did you feel happier before you lost the weight, or do you feel happier now that you're slimmer? And she said, if I'm honest, some days I feel happier and some days I don't, because she felt more exposed having lost the weight than she did when she was bigger. So, you know, we had to do some work around identity and confidence and other aspects that come into play. So this is never a case of, can we just get this person to lose weight? You know, we have to bring about long-term results. We sometimes have to look at other issues, and we have to find a way to keep in touch with people as well, because they might be all right when they leave your office and they've done a 4-session program and they seem to have lost weight, but where are they in 3 months, or where are they in 6 months? So you might even have to offer some kind of continuation program as well, because in order for people to keep the weight off, it's not just about have they got a new set of habits and behaviours that allow that to happen, but it's also have they got the motivation to keep with the new routine and put the same amount of effort in. So I'll be covering some of those things a bit later on. So I've identified 6 eating types of people, and this is the first one. So the first one is a busybody. So this is somebody who's very busy, and I'm very busy all the time, very busy, and they live a very hectic lifestyle. They've got no time, and they probably eat on the run. They're probably highly stressed as well. And, you know, a lot of clients who come and see us, they probably fall into a bracket of, well, most clients who can afford our services, if we are charging at the right rate, are probably cash rich but time poor, because they've got the money to pay us, but they haven't got very much time. So, you know, if you're working with professional people, you know, they might fall into this bracket. You know, they've got a hectic lifestyle and they haven't got very much time. And this could be people as well who have got young children, you know, and they're rushing them to school, they're rushing through the day, they're getting back after school activities. You know, there's not a lot of time to slow down. So that's the first type of person. And when you look at people in this type of light, it starts to make you think, okay, what is that I can really address to bring about a quick win, to change things. The second type of people then I describe as comfort zoners. And the comfort zoner, and actually, you know, again, probably quite a lot of your clients, they fall into an age bracket where they're enjoying a nice lifestyle. You know, they've got, you know, a good level of income, they're in a nice house, they probably haven't got any major emotional issues, and, you know, they enjoy nice meals, going out with their friends, and they may already eat healthily. You know, when people come to you for weight loss, it's not necessarily because, you know, your stereotypical eating 10 McDonald's a day. They're already eating healthily, but they're probably still eating just a bit too much of it. But these people who are in a comfort zone, again, probably have a low motivation for change, because, all right, they want to lose weight, but it's not the end of the world if they don't, because everything else in life is hunky-dory. It's absolutely fine. You know, there's nothing bad's going to happen if they, you know, don't lose the weight. Their nice lifestyle will still continue. So the next group of people then is our emotional eaters. So these people, you know, as we know, you know, eat when I'm happy, eat when I'm sad, eat for every emotion, might hide themselves away, might be secret eaters, and in some way they use food to soothe their soul in some way, you know, our emotional eaters. We've then got what I describe as our sedentary scoffers. And sedentary scoffers, and, you know, we can probably all relate to this in some, especially at the moment, if we can't leave our houses, you know, we're not got a lot of movement going on, have we? You know, we're spending more and more time in front of our devices, you know, watching the television, you know, and we really, I say, have very little movement at all. But even when we're not locked down, I remember when I left my job and started doing this, this is my job now, but when I left my job as a fraud investigator for the Department for Work and Pensions, because that was my previous occupation, I investigated people who weren't quite as disabled as they claimed to be. And so my job was to prosecute them and take them to court. And at the same time, I was also a magistrate on the local judiciary bench. So I had this, sat in judgment with two other people, and we passed sentence on people. I always wanted to say, take him to the nearest tree and hang him until he is dead. I always wanted to say that, but they never let me. And they said, "Mom, I'm sorry, you can't do that. It's just a parking ticket." Oh, right, okay. When I was doing those occupations, the fittest thing I had in my body, the very fittest thing, was my right ankle. And the reason that was the fittest thing was because I only had to take 3 steps in the morning to walk out with my daughter, get in my car, and to push the accelerator down in my car. So my right ankle was very fit from pushing the accelerator down. So we've got, a traditionally very sedentary lifestyle. The next group of people then are our super snackers. And, they, maybe graze all day, at the desk, grazing all day. And they all I've described, trance eaters. People say, do I hypnotize people into a trance to get them to lose weight? Well, I say, not really. I probably hypnotize them out of it, because most of the damage that we're doing is in the trance, with the automatic behaviors. So when we're looking at helping people with weight loss, which trances do we need to break? Which pattern interrupts do we need to put into place to break the trance? And to make somebody much more consciously aware of what it is that they're doing. So obviously the trance eating we know is, sitting in front of the television. I can start on the dairy milk and think, how have I eaten all that? I didn't even know I'd done it, because we're doing all the eating in the trance. The next group of people then are the supersize me. And, people who enjoy big portions. I just like a lot. I just like to have a lot. These might be people who they've had a family who have grown up, they used to be a family of 4 or 5, feed the children every night. And those children might have left home by now, but they're still following the same pattern. They're still cooking the same amount and eating that as well, So we've got people who are, the supersize me. So when we look at those, putting it into types, we start to get an idea of...
People are freaking out right now. Like, they're tired of having their top...
Huh? Sorry, I missed that. Oh. When we start to look at people in terms of types, we can start to think, okay, what do I need to work on that can bring about a fast result? Is it that I need to work on, breaking the trances? Is there a quick trance I can break that will bring about a good result? Do I have to work on, reducing the portion sizes? If I get an instant reduction of portion sizes using something like the virtual gastric band system, then, is that going to make a difference? Which bits do I need to make the person consciously aware of? Do I need to work on their motivators more, to bring them from low motivation to become more highly motivated? But when you look into, I'm just thinking my top tips for working with weight loss clients. The number one thing, and it's not just with weight loss, it's with anything at all really, is you've got to ensure that there is only one hypnotist in the room. There can't be more than one, and it has to be you. Because when you work with a client who says, oh, well, this week I've been depressed about this, or I suffer with depression, or this has happened, or that's happened, or I'm like this because, if you follow their script, it's that, then they are being the influencer of this behaviour. They're influencing the session. They're giving the commands, not you. So it has to be you that's in charge of this, and you're the one giving the commands. Because when I look back at any what I would call clients that I haven't had a great result with, when I look at that in depth, it's because at some point I have let them take the lead and I have started following them. So, you know, we've got to keep it where we're the one that's giving the instructions here and the person is following our lead, not the other way around. So next top tip then is, you know, to ignore the branches, you know, ignore the story they tell you. You know, don't try and attack the whole lot at once. You know, think about if you could put some foundations in place instead and get back to the basics, and try to make some suggestions that your client can easily achieve. What quick wins can you give them that they can easily do that'll make a bit of difference straight away? The other thing is to manage their expectations, you know, is to set realistic goals with them, because, you know, if we don't set a realistic goal, the client will go down the route of, well, you know, I expected to lose 3 stone by day 3 and it hasn't happened. You know, the only person that they'll blame is you. So, you know, make sure that the goal that they're setting is realistic to achieve. And, you know, if we can get somebody to lose £2 a week and they're doing that without dieting, would they be happy with that? Then most people will say, yeah, that's okay. So have they got something coming up, you know, in the next month, 2 months, that can be a realistic goal of, if they lost £2 a week, would they achieve it? So make sure that what they're setting is achievable and realistic. Think about which trances do we need to break? You know, which and how do we break those? So like, I do give clients recordings to listen to, you know, that support a program, something that I want them to listen to every day. But I don't just say, listen to this recording, because if you don't give people advice of when to listen to it, they'll probably listen to it when they get into bed on a night time. And we're really not going to be eating then. Well, hopefully not. So I would give them advice of when to listen to that recording. So if they say to me, well, I'm okay up until 4 o'clock and it's at 4 o'clock when I pick the children up from school, that's the issue. That's the trance I need to break. That's when I need to interrupt that pattern somehow. So I might say, okay, I want you to listen to the recording at 4 o'clock before that trance occurs. The other thing is about making positive suggestion to our client right until they leave our room. You know, we've got to put out this air of confidence right until the person leaves us, and even in between your sessions. And a bit later on, I'm going to be talking about how you can keep in touch with your client, keep the belief system high, keep the motivation high in a fairly, in a way that's not going to take you too much time, but they will love you for the personal service that they perceive that to be. So, excuse me. So the positive suggestions then, you know, even if I have just done the worst session ever, because we all have it, don't we? Doesn't matter how long you've been in this profession. And, you know, you will always have the client who doesn't show a single sign that they've gone into hypnosis. You know, that they didn't appear to be responding to any suggestions that you were making at all. Now, we don't want to be saying, oh, how did you think that session went? Because they might then say, yeah, I don't think it was very good. And I'd be like, no, it wasn't very good. But we need to find a way to, you know, make positive suggestion until they leave our room. So one of the ways that I do this, and I do it with every single client that I work with, even if it's lying to them. So when I brought the client out of the trance, and the very last thing I say, the thing I say to them is, oh, I've just got to say to you, although I don't normally say this to people, and especially on the first session, but you did absolutely fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Best person I've ever worked with. You know, I watched you the whole time. I know what suggestions are being accepted, and you will have no problem with this whatsoever. You'll be absolutely brilliant. Anyway, I'll see you next week. So, but I say that to everybody. But what they're doing is leaving on a high. They're leaving thinking, oh, well, I don't think I felt any different. I don't know if I felt I was hypnotised, but yeah, she said that, and she doesn't normally say that to people because they've hold you in high esteem. They see you as the expert. The other thing as well is even how we give our pre-talk to what is and isn't going to happen. And, you know, I always say to a client, all I need you to feel today is that you're sitting there with your eyes shut in order to make this work. That's all I need you to feel, that you're sitting there with your eyes shut. And every single client will feel like that because that's what they're doing. But again, it's a way of stopping the, you know, have I been hypnotised? Have I not? Oh, I don't know if I was hypnotised. Well, if I don't know if I was hypnotised, well, has it worked? And then they'll start destroying all the other suggestions that you've made to them as well. The other thing with weight loss then is providing social proof if you possibly can. So say, for example, what I do when I start working with somebody is I start to show them the social proof. I show them before and after photographs. I, you know, let them listen to a video of a client that I've worked with. And before everything was locked down and I could see people in my clinic, I would bring people in and on the wall was full of before and after photographs, client testimonial, and I'd just bring them into a room to sit down and say, I'll just nip out and get you a glass of water. I meant to get you a glass of water before you came, so have a seat and I'll be back in a few minutes. And what they're doing then is sitting and looking at the results. You're already getting people's expectations and belief systems that this can be something that can help them. So if you can provide, you know, social proof that what you're doing is working, then that is going to help buy into the client's belief system. The other thing then is to, you know, I get a client to make some conscious effort. I want you to meet me halfway with this as well. So I'd give them some guidelines to follow so that they do start making a little bit of conscious effort. Because if they meet me part way through with this, then they're going to get a better result. So this is an example of a gentleman in America, a guy who'd done virtual gastric band training with me. This was a gentleman beforehand. And this is the guy called Eric Webster who had worked with this gentleman. He ended up on American television. And this was his before. And he'd always been told from a young age to eat it all up because he'd be a big boy. Eat it all up, you'd be a big boy. And aren't your parents right? Aren't your parents absolutely right in what they tell you? And anyway, this was him afterwards. Which, you know, an amazing result, absolutely amazing. And so, you know, when you start showing clients those type of photographs, you know, their belief system, that actually this something can help them starts to kick in. So, you know, when we're looking at people's, you know, motivators, etc., and in my book, the No More Diets, there are some templates that actually the whole idea of this book was, yeah, it will help clients, but it was really to help practitioners as well. And I always recommend that practitioners who've done virtual gastric band training actually buy this book and give it to the client as part of the program. There's a number of reasons for that. It's not to make me rich, because selling books never makes you rich unless you're going to sell millions of copies. But what it does is it's littered with client case studies, before and after photographs. It also has a whole load of templates in it, which gets the client to identify who they are themselves and their own eating habits, and gives them some templates to work through, which brings their eating habits to conscious awareness. So but the whole book actually points people at go and see a trained practitioner to get things done, you know, properly, if you like, and to help you more. But if you want that book's on Amazon. but it's full of templates. And sometimes we just have to, say for example, if a client has come to you post-lockdown and alcohol's the issue, they've started drinking too much. When are they doing it? Okay, well, it's probably traditionally on an evening. And get somebody to just think, okay, and how am I feeling when that happens? Because the feeling is the key, isn't it? That's the link. What are they trying to do? What are they trying to create by having that? Or is it just is it a reward? Is it what is it they're trying to create? And because then once we know that, we're just going to flip that into what they can do instead. How can we change that so they still get the same feeling or reward from something else? And these are things that can be done consciously out of hypnosis and then reinforced in the hypnosis session. So you can then do mental rehearsal of that time, throughout the hypnosis session. It's also thinking about, getting them to think about what are their drivers behind some of the behaviours. When did they start doing this? Was it a life experience that had triggered something? Why are they repeating it now? Why are you still doing that now for something that happened ages ago? But it just gets them to be a little bit more consciously aware of something rather than it be an automated behaviour. So when you're looking at designing your weight loss program then, there's a few, I would recommend that you look at putting the foundations of eating back in place again. Because, if we put the foundations in place, we've almost lost the foundations. When I was a little girl, my mum, she fed us 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And it was pointless asking for anything else because we weren't going to get it. And not that I had a deprived childhood by any stretch of the imagination, but our treat on a Saturday night, my mum used to go and get a bottle of Coca-Cola and 6 bags of potato chips. And on a Saturday night, we could have a glass of Coca-Cola and a bag of potato chips. And that was our treat for the week. Not the day, not the hour, the week. And that was just how life was, and we kind of accepted that. Whereas now we can have whatever we want, whenever we want it. So, it's sometimes about, let's put some foundations back in place. What's the right thing to do? So let's forget about what you're actually having for your meals to start with. This isn't a diet. Let's go back to eating 3 meals a day. If it was a drinking thing, let's set some rules about that. Okay, what nights can be alcohol free? Get some conscious movement on that as well. And we want the client to eat consciously. So, not eating on the run, not eating at the desk in front of the computer, and to start become aware of when they feel comfortable. What's your body telling you? The virtual gastric band is all really, we get somebody to imagine surgery, but it's really about getting the client to start to notice what their body is telling them, because our body has all the answers if we listen to it and respond to it. We want the client to drink plenty of water. In the UK, we're actually really bad at not drinking enough water. I know, as I've travelled around the world and done training in other countries, in some countries, they're really good. They drink a lot. It's the norm. In the UK, we're really bad at it. Hence my cup of coffee keeping me going tonight. But we want to encourage our client to drink plenty of water. And also we want to encourage them to exercise for 30 minutes a day. Now, if you think about it, if the client does those things without any hypnosis whatsoever, if they go back to basics, going to eat 3 times a day, we're going to stop when we feel full, we're going to drink plenty of water, and I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes a day. If they do those things, they will probably start to lose weight anyway, without the hypnosis. The hypnosis becomes the icing on the cake, and of course starts on the drivers behind it all, updates the computer system program. So I'd think about, the foundations that you can put in place. Now, before I move on to some tips of working online and in groups, etc., I'm just going to open up, I'm going to stop my sharing. I'm going to open up the chat box. And just have a look at some questions.
Will this recording be made available later?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will come out. It'll come out tomorrow as a replay. So, and what I'll probably do as well, if I can, is attach the PowerPoint slides to that email that comes out, so that you have the slides to go through as well, and the information.
That's very good, actually. They help a lot.
Okay. So what I've been talking about so far, of course, I could only see about. Are you going, Paul?
No.
Are you doing the applause? Let's do the applause.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Paul. If I could only see, because I had the PowerPoint slide going, so I could only see like 3 faces on mine and the PowerPoint slide. Has that information so far been useful for you? Excellent.
Very
good. It just starts to help us see things in a slightly different light, really. So, Carol, Carol, you got in on the link. Brilliant. Hello, Carol. Nice to see you. Got you there eventually. Carol said, how important is it to share your own weight loss journey? If you've taken a weight loss journey, I think it's very important to share it. Because people buy your story, and it's not about you being perfect either. None of us are perfect, are we? We're all far from perfect. So it's about sharing who you are as a person, because people buy into that. And if you've got a story, then I would tell that story. If this is a new marketplace for you, then go through the process yourself, but also kind of document it. I was talking to a gentleman today. I don't know if he's online tonight or not. A gentleman in Canada, and he is going to go through his own journey with it. And he's also going to, I've said, do a Facebook Live every week of where you are with things, and be honest, and by going through that journey yourself, you can sort of you start to know what you're going to be putting your clients through. So, what stumbling blocks did you have? Did you have a stumbling block in a month or 2 weeks? Or what were the things that came up for you this week? Oh, this is what came up for me this week. But what I've really noticed is this, and start to share that, because as it then happens for you, other people are following your story, and that's when they're going to start saying, "Oh, can you help me with this?" So it's always a very good thing to do, to share your own story.
When you're starting, your program for weight loss. I forgot what I was going to ask you now. When you start your story for weight loss, do you think it's best to charge people for it, or not for the first couple of people, so you get used to doing it properly, as it were?
Yeah, and it's a great question, that, Paul. And sometimes, it is like, some people will say, "Oh no, if you don't charge, you don't get a result." I haven't personally found that. In that, when I started Virtual Gastric Band, then I just went out to the world and said, I'd like 25 volunteers, nobody paying me any money, I'll see you all as a group, I invite the media along to independently verify the results that I get. Now, some people might say, well, that was brave of you, or some people might say that was stupid. But I just took that risk, really, and they, I'm never going to get the same result every time I do that, because you always get a different group of people. But you know, it sparked it all off.
I think you got to take the courage in your hand and just leap forward.
You have. You've just got to. Sometimes you've just got to press start and think, "What the heck?"
There is one other question I'd like to ask you. I'm slightly obese myself, unfortunately. Do you think that makes a lot of difference when you're dealing with clients who want to lose weight? You sitting there telling them what to do and you're slightly fat yourself.
So some hypnotherapists would say, oh no, you've got to be, you know, walk the walk to be able to help other people. I think there's like a little bit of an element of that, but then if you're sharing your own journey with it, then people will relate to that. And I don't think we should be a perfect human being. You know, people sometimes think, oh, if you're a therapist, you must be absolutely perfect, aren't you? I can assure you I'm absolutely far from it, because I'm a human being just like everybody else. But, you know, again, people buy you. So that's when they decide it's you that they want to work with.
What I've done is taken some pictures of me now that I'm large, and hopefully I'm going to lose weight following your gastric band, which I think is very good because it stops me thinking about food actually quite a lot. And I've already lost a few pounds, but I've got to use about 4 stone, unfortunately, you know, to get down to my weight.
Right, okay. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to, oh, you're going, Phil. Nice to see you. I'll send the recording to you. All right, good luck with your client. All right, nice to see you. What would be really good, I'm just going to pause the recording a minute. Find the button to do it. Pause record. So yes, back in the room. Okay, so just hang on. Yeah.
No fireworks this week.
Oh, is there? Fireworks?
No fireworks. There normally is.
We normally have fireworks. Well, there's somebody around here who just wants fireworks.
And there's usually an air raid shelter, you know, siren goes off as well. But I think the council have banned it.
Oh dear. No,
there we go. Good boys out.
Hang on for everybody to come back a second. Right, are we all back in the room? Back in the room.
Sheila, I don't know if there's anybody there that would like to arrange to hypnotise me to help me lose weight. That would be appreciated.
Paul, why don't you, in the Connect group, put a message in there?
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm not very good with messaging.
I'll do it for you.
All right, okay. Thank you. Okay, would you like to just put your mute back on again, everybody?
Yep.
You're walking, oh, that's it. I've put the lady who seems walking down the street still. Oh, dear. Oh, that was good fun. That was good fun. So I'm just going to go back on the questions. Okay, so Eugenia has asked, when I did the free gastric band group, were the participants hypnotherapists? How many sessions did you do? And no, they weren't. Nobody was hypnotherapists. They were all the general public. And I got to them. The reason I managed to, you know, get people into a group fairly easily is because I do a lot of business networking. So I just asked my business networking group does anybody know any volunteers of people who would like to lose weight? And I got a stampede of people, you know. So I actually filled the room fairly quickly because I did it to put the word out through business networking. But I'm sure even if you put the word out on social media, that would work as well. There you go. You've got a few offers there, Paul. You've got an offer from Annie in Dubai, and you've also got an offer from June Callan, who's in New Zealand. Lisa asked how much you're selling your gastric band course for. I'll tell you that information in a minute. And Sheila said, I would like hypnosis for weight release and confidence. So now that you're all back, I'm just going to go into, everybody's on mute. Everybody's on mute. I will carry on with my PowerPoint. Hopefully. Okay, so we talked about, you know, all the different weight loss, you know, the type of client, etc., and some tips. For those of you who would like to be, to really get into the weight control side of things, I've put together a package that I think would be best for where we are in the world at the moment. And that package includes full virtual gastric band practitioner training, and you get, you know, 2.5 days worth of video training, all training manuals, logos for your website, all the tools and everything that you need for that. But I've also within that put a package together. So there's a full training on reducing alcohol, and all of these are full programs in their own right that you could use as standalone programs, or you could mix and match them to suit the individual client sitting in front of you. Because really we should personalize things as much as possible. There's a full training on hypnosis for depression, one for hypnosis for hormones, because we know that they impact on weight. There's also one on hypnosis meets autoimmune disorders. Now, which again can impact on weight and people's belief systems, confidence, all sorts of things there. And, you know, I know that to be true because I am one of those autoimmune people. So I have something called myasthenia gravis, which most people have never heard of, but it creates massive muscle weakness, and ability to exercise for any period of time becomes very difficult, because with myasthenia, the more you do, the weaker your muscles become. So any repetitive action is a problem. There's also training for hypnosis meets nutrition. So those of you who don't know much about nutrition, you know, you could, with gastric band, you put the foundations in.
She can't eat anything. There's loads of meals in the fridge.
Then how you
tonight?
just put the mute on for me.
Today, Crystal, marvellous. She's done really well, Kieran. So just when
if somebody puts the mute on.
He went, I did. He went.
Oh dear, let me find it.
Last night.
Do you have a mute all button?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it actually.
Right. Go local and off sale.
Oh, it's time to stop now. So there's nutrition as well. You know, sometimes with weight loss you might get the foundations in place, and then it could be that you have to work on the nutritional side of things as well. There's also a training guide for taking control of type 2 diabetes. And again, these are all things that we can mix and match to suit the person in front of you. We could deliver as standalone programs, and all these are full training manuals with potential scripts for each session, so you don't have to you know, sort of work anything out yourself. It's all laid out for you. I'd also send out both copies in the post of both books to you, so you'd have both in the post, Building a Hypnotherapy Practice and the No More Diets. And you'd also be invited to a special training, a Q&A webinar, so you can be really super confident in what you're doing. The people who've taken gastric band training with me and, you know, have sort of got some really great results, and not only from the point of view of the clients, but also what it's done for the business. So it's a guy in Australia, $700,000 since taking the virtual gastric band training. So he's really kind of run with it. I've gone past actually the right slide. So this, I haven't actually put what the prices on this. So there's 1,286 UK pounds worth of training there, and as a special offer, I'm doing that from this webinar for 397 UK. So you're going to get all of that for what would be the cost of just the virtual gastric band training on its own. I'll put a link in the chat box. Now, if you are already a virtual gastric band practitioner, but you wanting the others, you know, all the extra programs, you can put a specialist code in and just pay 127 for everything else. And there might also be some people who are on the call who are on my Hypnosis Connect mentoring program. Don't do anything yet if you want any of this, because I can you know, do something different for you. But basically it's all that package for 397 to get the full training. If you're already a practitioner, virtual gastric band practitioner, you can get all the extra material and the extra training for 127. I will put a link in the chat box about that shortly. But I want to move on to the working online and in groups. And I apologise that it's actually gone really teeny tiny as the words on the screen for this, but I will send out the PowerPoint for everybody so you can have a look at this. So we are in a new reality now, and it may be some time before we can do a lot of in-person work, and certainly here in the UK that's the case. When you're looking to work more online and encourage people to online sessions using something like Zoom, then I would encourage a complimentary consultation. You know, see people, so people know what this online experience actually is, what that actually looks like. Because when we say I work online, people might think, what, do you just type at me in a chat box? You know, what does that actually look like? So I would make part of my marketing about just encouraging people to a complimentary consultation on Zoom, so people can see what that looks like, what that interaction's like. You can also then know, you know, is their Wi-Fi system actually good enough to do this? Because it could be that your Wi-Fi is all right, but theirs is terrible, in which case it's not going to be good enough to support a session. You know, if you've not done a lot of Zoom sessions, then, you know, practice with family and friends. You know, do some free stuff. But do the free stuff in order to then collect perhaps some little videos of you working online, some video testimonials, you know, what that, so that you can then promote it out further. It gives you the base to promote it out further. You know, if you're new to this area as well, or even if it's existing and you're looking to up your marketing game with it, encourage the media to come and test your program on Zoom, you know, so that they can see what it looks like. They're going to write about it. And, you know, more than anything, you know, we need to encourage a world-class customer service at this point. You know, what can you do to really give the best customer service when you're working online with people? And one thing at the moment you could do is start sending videos to people. And when I say videos, I don't mean polished videos. I mean, just shoot a quick 2-minute video on your computer and send it to the client, perhaps in between the sessions. Oh, hi, Sheila here. Just wanted to check in and see how you've been getting on since we did our session. Hope you're remembering to do blah, blah, blah. You know, anyway, I'm here if you need me. You know, it just gives you that bit of a personal touch with it. And remember, it's all about how we make people feel. So if we can make people feel good, if we can get good interaction, they're going to get the results. When you're working in groups, you know, one thing with working in groups, of course, it makes things more affordable to people. You know, you could probably offer something at a lower price if you're working in groups, because, you know, your hourly rate might be $200 an hour, but if you're doing in groups and you can offer it for, you know, $50, but that you've got, you know, 20 people on that, your hourly rate is suddenly going up. So, you know, you can offer this quite well in groups, and some people like safety in numbers. Again, I would use the video ploy, because you will get people who are quieter in that group, who you're not getting much interaction from. And you want to know that they're doing okay. So you might want to send them a little video message saying, oh, you know, you're really quiet in the group and that's okay, but just wanted to make sure that you were all right. And offer to, you know, talk to them more about it. For groups as well online, of course, you can record it. So those people who aren't available for certain bits of your sessions, then, you know, make sure you record it and they can catch up. You know, they don't have to all be available on that time. Above all, in a group, you want to be creating a supportive community. So what can you do to make that as supportive as possible? You know, what can you do to make all the people in the room feel special? Instead of, you know, when you're working one-on-one, you only need to worry about one person. What can you do to make everybody feel special? You can incentivize people to do well in groups. You know, you can give a prize for the person who does the best each week, or the person who does the best over the month, who's dropped a dress size in a month. You know, what kind of gift can you give that person? So you incentivize the group to do well in that way. You know, it can, once you've gone through each session, because probably it's going to be a 4-session program, then, you know, after you've talked about things that people can do consciously, perhaps, you know, you can ask the participants, you know, what are they going to do to change or do differently this next week? So encourage participation. You know, what can they do they're going to do differently? Because then also you can reinforce that with mental rehearsal in the hypnosis session. And the other thing is about having some kind of strong close or positive affirmation or saying or something at the end of the session. You know, what's going to motivate people at the end of your session? You know, how can you close that on a high? You know, you can maybe, you know, play some music, or, you know, if you give presentations even at the moment, you know, think about having a music introduction and a music outroduction. You know, what can be the theme tune of the group that actually just gels people together and ends the session on a high. So I'm hoping that's started to give you a few ideas of what you could do in those scenarios. You know, if you're taking the full training, I'll go into this in a lot more detail. It's just as time will allow tonight what I can tell you, but I'm hoping what you're doing is picking up some like little golden nuggets that you can think, yeah, I can do something with that. That's given me an idea, because this is such a you know, massive subject. So Linda's asked, you have several small videos on your site. Where do you get them made? I'm in the US. Linda, just send me an email. I employ a full-time video editor. But if you see videos on my website that you think, oh yeah, I could really do with something like that. So I put out one like about how to explain, you know, hypnosis explained, or you know, I've got hypnotized to think thin, or hypnosis for sleep, and I've got lots of different videos, little promotional videos, and I can have those edited with your contact details on, that just cover the cost of editing, because I say employ somebody I've got a full-time video editor, so which is why I can do it like that. But what I'll just ding in the box a minute, in the chat box, copy. Oh, I had momentary panic then. I thought I'd forgotten to hit record again when we come back from our. Okay, So those of you who are interested in the full training and what that full offer is, I've just put a link in the chat box that takes you through to a full page of what there is. But tomorrow you'll get a replay of this and more detail on that package, and you know, more detail for those of you who have already taken training from before, so we can put some discount in that for you. And the people on the Connect group, I'll talk to you about that separately, because otherwise it gets very confusing. So Denise, yeah, I apologise. There will be some of you who can't get in to speak, simply because I exceeded the number of people on the webinar. Actually, I'm just getting a few more in now. Getting a few more of you in, until I reach my maximum again. Reach my maximum. So Eugenia's asked, hello Eugenia, back to the group sessions. How many free group sessions did you offer? So I offer a 4-session program initially, Eugenia, on weight loss. And so so it was over 4 weeks that I saw people in a group. So again, you could do that online, 4 sessions online. So Linda's asked, with all the different types, I find with my clients the types can overlap, and absolutely, Linda, they do. And with some people, could you advise on how to manage this? It's all really, Linda, about how you can create a quick win by looking at those different types. But if they overlap, what's the quick win that you can put in place that's going to make a difference quickly that the client can easily achieve? So that their belief system kicks in, because then you can continue to work on the other things on the future sessions, but the belief system is high. So, you know, what can you do that's going to create a quick win for somebody? Like the gastric band program creates a quick win instantly in the first session, because it puts the foundations in place. It gets somebody to, you know, really notice what the body's telling them, and so they're instantly eating less. So they come back a week later and they're instantly eating less, and average weight loss on the first session is around about £7. But then we've got to look at, okay, what's the other things to keep it going? Before I forget as well, I did have some questions sent to me and I nearly forgot about them. So I had a question from Lorraine, who I think is picking this up on a replay, who said, a lot of my clients are saying since the lockdown, apart from gaining weight, they also feel like they can't motivate themselves, as they can't go out for too long or go swimming, etc. Is this something you could perhaps touch on? So the motivation thing, you know, motivation is always something in a way that has to come from within. We can't force motivation on somebody. We've got to look, they've got to think, okay, how is life going to be different if I'm slimmer? What would my motivators be? And then we need to ramp those motivators up in hypnosis and look for, okay, are these just excuses of I can't exercise because, you know, can they actually leave the house or not? You know, we have got groups of people who are shielding, who, you know, aren't supposed to be leaving the house at all for any form of exercise, just staying in the house. And I am one of those people. But, you know, who can we be inspired by? I mean, look at Sir Tom, you know, who's just raised his 36 million for the NHS at 100 years old by walking up and down in his garden. There's all things that all of us can do if we want to change, but it's about making some small, realistic things that people can do, as opposed to trying to force them to do something they can't. So look at what their motivators are and what can they change. I've got a message from Derek. I don't know if you're on the line yet, Derek, or on the line tonight, Derek, or not. I haven't noticed your name. But he said that he'd had some people who, you know, he'd had great results with gastric band. He'd had some people who had lost like 5 stone, but when he's checked in with them sometime later, they've started putting weight back on again. And, you know, without doubt, weight regain is a typical long-term response. With any program that's out there, there is a typical long-term response with somebody. And we've got to find a way to help somebody keep the same motivation that they had for losing it as they do for maintaining it. How can we maintain the same motivation? And with weight loss, you know, you might want to offer a client a maintenance program after you've done initial sessions with them to keep them on track. What they have found with clinical evidence with hypnosis is that it's tended to be clients who are highly hypnotizable, who lose the most weight and keep that weight off. The unfortunate thing is that not everybody who we work with is highly hypnotizable. You know, we're not like the stage hypnotist who can sack and fire the people who are no good at this. Oh yes, you're no good at this, go and sit down. You know, we've got to work with whoever turns up in our office. So we will have clients who don't fall into that bracket. So we'll have to put other things in place to help them more. But please don't feel, you know, well, if they put it back, have I done something wrong? You know, it's the motivation has gone to maintain. So that's one area that you could look at. And the other thing is, you know, people say, you know, does this last forever? Does this last forever? Well, it lasts while the habits are there. It lasts while those habits and routines are there. But life happens, and that's why, you know, with this current lockdown period, everybody's habits have changed because we're in a different world again. And so, you know, that's why now is a good time to go back out with something like this to the marketplace, because everybody's experiencing that. They've gone through a grieving process as well. You know, when people go back to old habits and routines, you know, it's the emotional stresses that trigger these old things in them, old habits. So it's not that you failed in what you've done, it's just that life has happened. Life has happened and changed things. So what things can we put back in place to get somebody back on track? And people are still going through, you know, a different process of the grieving process of what's happened. People are experiencing a sense of loss, you know, a loss of the life that they had. And to start with, we thought this is only going to be for a few weeks. And now it's like, this is going to be for longer, you know. So there's all sorts of emotions that come into play. And so it's very much, let's work with people as individuals, but more than anything else, let's make people feel good, because we have this unique ability as hypnotists to work from a place of making people feel good. And it's part of the reason those of you who are on my Connect program, it's part of the reason that I put a 12-week program together for hypnotherapists, where we were throwing out positive content in a way that could really make a difference to our local community now. And we're going to be in this situation for a while. So, you know, we've got to find new ways of working. We've got to find new ways of delivering our services, be more aware of, you know, the types of issues that are facing people and how we can support people through that a lot more. So Amanda's asked, what do you charge for individual or for people in a group scenario? And I mean, really, when we talk about price is something that is really down to you. I can't offer you advice on that. There isn't a, this is the average, or this is the norm, because price points should come from how much you want your business to do for your lifestyle. You know, so a very rough way of doing this, and I'm not doing any currencies here, I'm just putting the numbers out there and then you can kind of work it out for your currency. If you wanted to, if you needed 40,000 to pay your bills, for example, in a year. And then it's not about just paying the bills, because that would be boring. I could just get a job and do that. What would you like this year? Or, even if you want to give back to a charity, how much is that? Where do you want to go? If we could go on holiday, how much would it be? Do you want to move house? How much is that going to cost? And get an idea of what that looks like annually. So say, for example, we're going to move that to 60,000. And I don't want to work 52 weeks of the year, really, if I can help it. So we've got, say, 48 weeks of the year to earn that, if that's what I decide to work. So then I've got to earn 1,250 for 48 weeks to make my business goals happen. That's when we start looking at prices. So if I was to charge 400 a program, then I need 3 point something new clients per week to make that income goal happen. If I was then to work that in a group, then let's see, if I was doing 400 new clients, then it might be in a group. I might want to offer that for 200, might be 50% less. So then I would just need 6 point something clients in a group, starting a new group, to make my income goal happen. So your price point has to come from what you want your business to do, as opposed to what anybody else is charging, because what anybody else is charging is really, like none of our business, really. So Carol said, how much does the concept about thinking about food play in the weight loss journey? Is this a really big problem? So with gastric band, Carol, what most clients report is that they actually stop thinking about food, because we're saying to them, you can eat whatever you want. Eat whatever you want, just at these 3 times. And by doing that, they stop thinking about food, because, they're not having to, it's not got that diet mentality of what am I going to have for my lunch? What am I going to have for my dinner? We've taken the focus away from that, and we're actually putting the focus on them enjoying it a lot more, because they're tasting it, they're noticing it, they're slowing things down. Does that make sense, Carol? And one lady, a psychologist that I worked with, she said to me, I must have spent, I don't know how much time thinking about food, because now I'm not thinking about it anymore. I've got all this spare thinking space that I've got to fill up. So I must have been thinking about it, such a lot. David, hi David, nice to see you. How would you deal with a client that has bad legs or a medical condition preventing them from exercising? As far as weight loss is concerned, 80% is what we eat, 20% is exercise. So you could still get what I would describe as marginal gains without any exercise. What can the person do? Because, we will work with clients who have got disabilities, who have got health conditions that don't allow that exercise. So, what can be changed? What can be tweaked? And if you think about the 80% of it is food, then that means we can go a fair way to help it.
Questions now. She said my question, I asked her about motivation. She said, oh, Lorraine has asked me about this. Which really funny.
Lorraine, you're on speakerphone.
Oh, sorry.
So now, nice to see you. So she's lost 3, still 5 to go, but I don't get it off. That also is holding me back to help others. So again, you could be somebody then, if document your journey. I know it's like a big thing to do, to think about, okay, am I really going to share all this on social media? But by doing that, you're almost putting it out to the world. This is what I'm going to do. Because so you're also almost like making a bigger commitment to what your goal's going to do. Work on just the next goals for now, not on the bigger picture, just what's the next bit you want to reach? What can you link that to? And document your journey, because people will buy into that. And it won't matter whether you could still see clients for this because they will buy that journey, and that you can say, well, yeah, I'm doing it, I can understand. And people, you know, sometimes when you get, it's like when you go to a gym. If you go to a gym and your fitness instructor is like this drop dead gorgeous person, you know, got the perfect figure. Do I want to stand next to them, or do I want to work with them? No, because I feel bad all the time. They don't make me feel good. They don't make me think, oh, you know, you're great, you relate to me. You know, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, so as Annie said, lots of online classes at the moment for exercise. Azara said, would anyone like to be a study buddy for this gastric band program? Do you help with that, Sheila? Yeah, Azara, if you're going to go ahead with the training, we can sort that out for you. Annie, along with the support recording, gives them one on stress and positive thinking as well. And Anja, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Apologies if I'm not. What can we offer in the next sessions? How many times? Can that also be with MP3s? So yeah, anything that you offer. So with gastric band, for example, Anya, it is a 4-session program. Although actually I'm thinking you already are a trained practitioner in Belgium, I think. Just suddenly recognise your name. But if you were to do next step sessions, it's like, you know, you're really keeping that person going on what's the next goal, any things that they have along the way that's getting in the way, you know, what are the stumbling blocks and how can you work on that? So you'll be very much client-led on that side of it. I mean, you may say, okay, I'll offer you a further 3-month program. This will consist of this number of sessions to keep you on track. But you'll be very much client-led to what you actually do on that. So Joe, hi Joe. Sheila, any ideas on how to help someone with low thyroid who is walking, eating small portions and following the guidelines but still stuck at the same old weight? Okay, I think what this person might have to do, if they are, you know, telling the truth on food, you know, you might have to do a food diary. Are they actually eating smaller portions? You know, what does that actually look like? A food diary might help just really see what's going on there. And if it finds out, you know, they're telling the truth and they're being honest with themselves, then maybe their body needs a bit of a shake-up. In that, you know, if somebody just continues to walk, the body gets used to it. And so we need to shock it in some way to something different happening. So, you know, can there be just something different on the exercise front? And also do, in that case, have a look at nutrition as well. What's somebody doing nutritionally? And to keep that person motivated, because we do sometimes get people who have got metabolic disorders where weight loss is slower. Or some people where they might even stay still for a certain period of time. And it's how do we keep those people motivated? But one of the ways of looking at it a lot of the time is that the person's not putting any more on, whereas they were putting it on and getting bigger. So, Michelle's asked, can you direct those who are interested to which one of your websites that are the videos that we can purchase? I haven't, to be fair, Michelle, I haven't got them on a specific web page at the moment. What anybody'd have to do is just drop me an email to think@SheilaGranger.com and I would have to send you the videos on a link so you can see what there is. It almost became a sideline doing the videos, so it wasn't something that was overtly, you know, putting on the webpage. Bye-bye, Eva. Bye-bye, Linda. Oh yeah, Linda Varadi. Hello, Linda. Yeah, don't worry. I've got your email about that, and I've not ignored it. I will sort it tomorrow. It's just I ran out of time today, but I will sort it tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to draw it to a close tonight before I lose my voice. And but it's been, you know, really great to have so many of you online with me tonight. And this will come out as a replay. and you know, so you can pick that up. If I can offer you any further advice, then, you know, do send me an email to think@SheilaGranger.com. Although, you know, I am not the font of all knowledge by any stretch of the imagination, you know, I have worked with an awful lot of clients with this program. So you're probably not going to come across something that I haven't already faced myself at some point. And those of you on the call who know me well, and there's quite a lot of people, will hopefully vouch for me that I do support people in the long term, and come back with your questions quite fast. Give me a wave if I do that. Give me a wave if I come back really fast with your questions and help you in the long term. So, you know, so those you're new, yeah, Joe. So any of those that are new can hopefully take a bit of confidence from that as well. David, what are you doing? What he's doing with his hands? It's a bit strange. So yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed it tonight. I've seen, you know, some you know, sort of recognisable names on this call as well, who people who I haven't actually seen for a long time, like Mr. Brian Lynch. Nice to see you. And Phil Brady, I think he might have dropped off now. There you are. Nice to see you, Phil. Do you know, I have to tell you this, Phil. My partner, Stuart, has started working for me in the business now as well. Not doing hypnosis, he's doing some of the sideline stuff. And so he does pick up some of the emails and deals with some sales and things like that. And he absolutely loves you, and he wants to meet you. I don't know what it is, but you are one of his very favourite people. And so when we've sent emails out, and he's like, we haven't had anything from Phil Brady. And I don't know why, it's just your name that he's picked up. He said, I love him. He said, I absolutely love Phil Brady. And he said, you know, we're going to go and meet him one day. So really nice to see you online. So else who I haven't seen for a while, who I can see, who can I see? Give a shout out to. Okay, so I'm going to draw it to a close. I say, oh yeah, Joe, I do want to come to Heartland next year. Don't put it on the same weekend as the IMDHA. That's what happened this year, but as it turns out, unfortunately, I know it all. But we will all meet as our Queen in the UK gave a speech a couple of weeks ago now. And one of the things that she said, even whether people are royalist, anti-royalist, one of the things she said, which does resonate, she said, we will all meet again. We will meet again. And we will. You know, it might be next year, but we will all meet again. And won't it be great? Won't it be some party? So thank you for joining me. More importantly than any of this is stay well, stay safe, and let's give all, we'll finish off with another virtual hug. We'll have a hugging of our hypnotic community. Yes. All right, so enjoy the rest of your evening, day, afternoon, and I'll see you all again soon. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.